Dr. Lewis is a transformational healer, leading licensed naturopathic functional medicine doctor, acupuncturist, nutritional endocrinologist, hormone health expert, speaker, and author of Stop Stressing Me Out, 7 Solutions to Overcome Overwhelm and Conquer Disease Naturally. In addition to earning a Doctorate of Naturopathic Medicine, Master of Acupuncture, Chinese Herbal Medicine Certificate, and a Master of Business Administration, Dr. Lewis has over 3 decades of experience working in the scientific and pharmaceutical industries. Using a combination of natural medicine, Chinese medicine, and Western medicine, Dr. Lewis is a trailblazer for the future of medicine. She helps professional women over 40 who are suffering with complex and unresolved hormone symptoms naturally balance their hormones, and is committed to holistically transferring your disease to delight, ushering you into a healthier and more vibrant lifestyle. Welcome, Dr. Lisa. Thank you so much for joining me today. And let's talk about the thyroid.
Okay.
So, number one, how will somebody know if they have a thyroid issue?
Oh, gosh. Starting with a biggie, right? Starting with a big question.
I like to start things off right.
Yeah. So the thyroid is one of those glands that affects almost every organ, right? There is a physical thyroid receptor, something that accepts the thyroid hormone into the cell. There's a thyroid receptor for every cell. So
in the body.
Every cell in the body. So
wow.
If you think about that and, logically, then we would also think that the symptoms will show up in almost every organ system in the body, right?
That makes sense.
Right. So the symptom picture is so vast, so wide. That's one reason why it gets kind of lost in the sauce, as I like to say. So let's think about it from a systematic perspective. If we think about like use of energy, fatigue, right? The ability to manage and handle glucose, right? As far as muscles, get muscle weakness and joint pain, nervous system, you can get headaches and dizziness and depression, right? Weight, it handles metabolism. So it'll help you burn, right? And if it's low, so hypothyroid, then you'll have unexpected weight gain or inability to lose weight, but you also have like cold hands and feet, right? And or ability to get warm, like a resistance or the ability to kind of get like one of those people who kind of stays cold, so there's and that's just like the tip of the iceberg. There's so many hoarse voice, of course, because thyroid is the thyroid is right here on your neck, right? So when we think about it from the perspective, most of the symptoms are kind of embedded in other diseases, right? They're embedded. Right. So think constipation, embedded in the digestive system. Most people think, well, I have constipation. I don't have a thyroid issue. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with my thyroid. I just can't go to the bathroom, and I could never go to the bathroom, right? So, so one of the reasons why I feel it is underdiagnosed, not necessarily misdiagnosed, but underdiagnosed, is because the symptoms are common and they're found in a bazillion other disease states, right?
Sure.
And there's a gazillion more symptoms. Like we'd be here all night if we talked about
I think you in other conversations you were mentioning something about the eyebrows.
Yeah. So thinning hair. So we think about like one of the things that definitely brings people to thyroid is a common symptom is hair loss, hair thinning, change in texture, right? But they don't recognize it as hair all over the body, right? So a lot of women, as they get older and their thyroids are out of balance, they used to have hair on their legs and their arms, and now the hair is gone, right? But one of the real ways to check it is like a sign, what we consider sign, is the lateral aspect of your eyebrows are gone, right? So if you have to fill in all this with a pencil normally, then you might want to consider thyroid issues. And
That's cool.
yeah, so when we think about systematically, like joint pains, muscle aches, like all of those things will lead you to a thyroid imbalance. And I think that people are really missing the boat when they don't understand the full depth and breadth of the symptomology.
And, I think sometimes too, those symptoms of like, the thinning of the hair and the hair not on the legs and stuff as symptoms of menopause. So maybe it gets grouped into menopause when it's really thyroid related also.
That's one example. That's a perfect example of how you would think, oh, this particular condition has been known for this disease. So no way could it be a thyroid. But if you think about it, it's a hormone, right? And so and one of the important things is that the thyroid actually can go out of balance from estrogen fluctuations, right? So if your estrogen is fluctuating, especially as you're moving through that process, as you're going into perimenopause and moving through perimenopause, your estrogen is going up and down, right? And so that can be a trigger for thyroid imbalance. And so again, most people will go to a practitioner, whether Western or otherwise, and they'll have an assessment, but because they're not in tune with all of these symptoms, they'll go directly to what they're familiar with, which will not be thyroid. Yeah.
And being a thyroid expert, you're always thinking thyroid, just like, with me and the body, I'm always thinking alignment. That's always my go-to thing. So this is really great for me because you brought up body aches, which is something that people come to me for. So I really appreciate that heads up on that for sure.
And these are signs of aging too, right? So anytime I tell people these symptoms, they say that's just what happens when you age, right? So again,
when you age unhealthily.
Yes.
So, what are some of the common tests? Because I've been tested for thyroid, obviously, and I have many of the symptoms that you've mentioned, and my tests are normal. So why would a test, could it still be the thyroid, and how is that possible?
Yeah, so that's such a good question, because that's another one of the reasons why it's normally either misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed is because of the normal test. Like I've gone to the doctor ran my test and everything is normal. You don't have a thyroid imbalance, right? So that's a multi-pronged response, right? The first is we have to look at the test. We have to look at the test that they're running or the tests that they're running or the lack thereof that would determine whether or not you have a true thyroid imbalance. Now, the primary test that most doctors are going to run, which is really part of most people's comprehensive chemistry panel, is a TSH, which you call thyroid stimulating hormone, right? That TSH is not the most accurate way to assess a thyroid challenge, not just because of the nature of the test itself, but also because of the reference range. The reference range is huge. It's from like 0.5 on the low end up to maybe about 4.5 on the high end. And that's massive when it comes to determining the nuances of thyroid imbalance, because the person that's at like 0.6 or at 4.4, right below or right at the edge of the normal, will have massive symptoms, but because their test will come back normal, they won't show.
Oh, not the thyroid.
Check that. Go to the next thing. And the other challenge is that because that reference range is so wide, we use what we call functional assessments, right? So we use functional ranges, and those ranges focus on thyroid health. So what number would your thyroid be if it was completely healthy, if it was optimal, right? And then you can find more imbalances because that range is so much smaller. It's like, say, 1.5 to about 3. Some experts would even say 1.8 to 3. And so if you notice the difference, right, the difference is, so it's so much more narrow. So you can find imbalance so much more efficiently. And again, we say imbalance. We're not saying disease, right? We're looking for something before it happens. We don't want it to get all the way to the edge and you have all these major crazy symptoms. We want to find it before then. We want to keep the body in balance. And that's one of the hallmarks of holistic medicine and naturopathic medicine, because we're here to catch the cause and root cause and find things before and hopefully prevent disease. So it's a really complex challenge. And also the number of tests that they run, I just can tell you, TSH is just not sufficient. There's probably 22 different thyroid, like it might be more than that, right? So if there are 22 different patterns of thyroid dysfunction, do we really think we're going to find it by testing one parameter?
Sure. How many tests are there for thyroid?
I would say about 9 or 10 in general. There's a couple that are calculations. So they don't necessarily, the lab will automatically run them, but the importance, the biggies outside of TSH are free T3, free T4. Some also do total T3 and total T4, reverse T3, and then the thyroid antibodies, which would be anti-TPO or anti-thyroid peroxidase, and then the anti-thyroglobulin and antibodies. The antibodies are really important that most doctors just never run the thyroid antibodies, not even, but I have to say several endocrinologists that I've most recently, I've seen them running the thyroid antibodies, but in general, most people, and that's only if the original TSH comes back abnormal. Then
That's the only way you get a referral.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway.
No. So listen, only if they're normal, way far out of balance. Because I have patients that say, well, I'd like to go to an endocrinologist, and their primary care doctor will say to them, well, your numbers aren't that bad. They're not bad enough to go to it. So they're not gonna treat you unless they see your numbers all the way out here, which is
ridiculous. I agree. Okay, so also, why is so how did you get into it? You mentioned that you're a naturopath doctor.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about what that is, because I know what it is, but not everybody does. It's not a familiar term, particularly in the United States.
Yes.
I've met a lot of them from other countries, but I think I only know 2 here in the U.S. and you're one. So yeah, how did you get into this?
Wow. So it was a journey, and I know we only have a few minutes, so I'll give you the abbreviated version of it. All my life, I knew I was going to be a doctor. So I was one of those people who came in knowing that I wanted to be a doctor. So at 5, I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. But when I got to the door of medical school, something said, don't go in. And I was like, well, what am I going to do if I don't become a doctor? Because I've trained to become a doctor. So I went to work for the pharmaceutical industry because they had pretty much paid for everything at that point. Paid for undergrad, did all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And they even paid for, an MBA and all kinds of stuff, right? So they paid a little bit. So I went to work for them. And I realized this system is way more broken than I imagined. And am I so glad that I did not jump and just go against my intuition, because I learned more options by searching for the things that would help me, because mm-hmm. I had a lot of stress and hormonal imbalances, and all they wanted to do was give me medication and or surgeries. And so I went searching for something that support me and my healing. And I found holistic medicine, and I have not looked back since then. I love it. I'm also an acupuncturist, so I like to incorporate multiple forms of medicine.
Modalities.
That's right, because we know the more modalities we use, the faster we move through our healing process.
Yeah, I have a saying that, the more options, it's a numbers game.
Yes.
The better your odds of recovery. And yes, recovering quicker.
Yes.
I believe because if you're sick or if your homeland was attacked, would you just send the army?
Right.
No,
Right.
you want to get all hands on deck here. So having more tools in your toolbox and hitting it all at the same time, that's the way I deal with my health.
Yeah, and
My health.
and a lot of times it can't be even just about attacking, right? Sometimes you gotta be protecting, right? And one of the things that we don't realize in our health is that if we focus on, because Western medicine is like, okay, there's a pathogen, we have to eradicate it, make sure it goes away, right? But in holistic medicine, natural medicine, we're like, let's make the internal environment incompatible, right? Inhospitable to the, let's make you so strong or make your system alkaline, right? And all these other ways to make your system so strong that it won't allow for that pathogen to want to stay. The pathogen is going to like, let me out of here, right? And so we need both the attack and the protection, right? So that's why we treat the symptom and we treat the cause, right?
Sure. No, that's the way to do it, because if you just treat the symptoms, you and I were having this conversation earlier that, there needs to be an end game.
Yeah.
How long, how much?
Yes.
And if you're becoming reliant on something, a modality, a medication, a supplementation, then you haven't gotten the root cause.
Yes.
And then you have to dig deeper. So it's a good barometer of whether you're on the right path or not. I talk about this with pain for sure. It's a great barometer.
Yes.
And the same thing with your symptoms. It's like, you have to be really cognizant. Now I'm really cognizant of some of my symptoms of iron deficiency. And, I'm like, okay, if I take this away, can I still be, functional?
Yes.
Another one with a big range. It's just.
Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, it's really that mindset shift, right? Helping people to recognize, because we've gotten accustomed to the quick fix and we've gotten accustomed to taking the pill, right? And so what's the problem? What can I take for this? The number one question I get from people is, what should I take for my ... whatever that challenge is. And I have to let them know that in the world of holistic medicine, if your focus or your practitioner's focus is only on giving you some supplements instead of giving you medication, then we're kind of missing the boat, because the cause may have nothing to do with what you can ingest from a supplement perspective. It might be your digestive imbalance. It might be your stress, right? Right. It might be all the things that a supplement might be able to support short term, but because you're being bombarded with these challenges, your body's being bombarded all day, every day, that a supplement is just not powerful enough. And I always say supplement is to add to, not to replace, right? So we're not used to that adding to and just taking. And a lot of people come to me and say, I've taken a bazillion supplements, as an example, even like a multi. And it's no secret, I have a supplement line and I love supplements. So I'll tell people I'm a supplement snob. I like really high quality, very pure supplements. So people will say, I've been on this multivitamin all my life and I don't feel any different. I'm like, well, we have to look at the quality and we have to look at what the real imbalance is. You may not have a supplement deficiency. You may have another problem. So let's look for the cause. And I think thyroid imbalance is one of those really nice ways of helping us see that the symptom may not always be completely related, right, to the organ system. Because to get to the root cause of most of your thyroid imbalances is going to be to address the stress, or to address the GI imbalance,
the diet,
the gut, the diet, and the nervous system, and the blood sugar, right? It's not a quick fix. It's not one of those fixes where you can just say, oh, I have a thyroid imbalance. Let me take this thyroid supplement. right?
Yeah.
Because,
And then keep doing damage.
exactly.
It's almost like, we all know smoking's bad for you, right?
Yes.
Well, what if there were a pill that took away all the symptoms of smoking, but you still smoke?
Yes. Yes.
Are you not gonna, still put your body in harm's way? It's the same thing.
Yes.
But we've been conditioned, and so many people are like, oh, let me just put a brace on it, or let me just take this pill and I'll be out of pain.
Yes.
And, but you're still walking in my world. You're still moving on joints that are not working properly.
Yes.
And so you're just still wearing them down, and and all you're doing is delaying the inevitable, which is going to be
kicking the can down the road, right? Kicking the can down the road. And that's why the thyroid is so complex, is because it's not one of those conditions that's easily understood or easily recognized, but it's also not one of those conditions that's easily treated. Like, you can't just say, hey, my thyroid is out of balance. The thyroid is saying, hey, I'm out of balance because there's something else in your world or other things in your world out of balance. It's a barometer. It's the tentacles for how you show up in the world. And so if it's out of balance, let's look at where. Let's look at why. And that's the key. And that's the key. Yeah.
And so, if I'm hearing you right, step one, get it recognized.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Step two, get it normalized, functionalized, ideal, working optimally. Yes. And three, figuring out why it's happening. And there's no reason that all those steps can't be done at once.
100%.
Am I correct?
100%.
And should be.
100%. It's like the way to heal the thyroid, to support the thyroid in rebalancing, is the way to support almost every other organ in the system. Mm-hmm. It's that if we get back to the major things that that are responsible for our general health, right? If we're eating right? If we're moving, and I'm not gonna say exercising because everybody can exercise, and that's your thing, right? Like the movement thing, right? Mm-hmm. And people, because people don't realize that just movement is necessary. And then the other aspects of managing stress, making sure your blood sugar is balanced, making sure that your immune system is effective. Those all can be done at the same time. It's like you don't have to just do this one thing over here for your immune system and this one thing for your digestive system. There are multiple things that are, and we're divinely designed to do all this together, right? And so I love this holistic aspect of healing, because I tell people it's not like whack-a-mole. Right? You're not have this symptom and we're going to give you that for this. And this symptom, we're going to give you that for this. It's like when we support you, it's going to support every cell and every system in your body to do the work. And that's what makes it so simple to do. And I think most people think it's hard. They think it's hard work to do. And
also very time consuming, because you brought up exercise. And, it's not that you don't need to exercise more. You need to exercise more wisely.
Yes.
Because the human body cardiovascularly, and for a lot of other symptoms, including prediabetes and insulin, you need 90 seconds of maximum exercise a week.
Yes. Yeah. 90 minutes.
A week.
90 minutes.
No, 90 seconds. 90 seconds.
So what's considered maximum exercise?
That means that you are going as hard as you can for 90 seconds.
Like
however,
high intensity interval training.
High intensity interval training. However, you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it all at once because it's cumulative.
Yes.
So and you can do it in any position, because I have something on my program called Sit and Hit. Okay. So you can do high intensity training in your chair if you're very overweight, or it will be stressful for your joints. So, but you just need to do that maximal effort. So everyone thinks, oh, I need to get into the gym and I need to No, it doesn't have to be that way. And
were there gyms like in the prehistoric, like people just moved, right? They ran, they walked, they did all kinds of things that
they squatted.
But especially like moving the major muscle groups. And one of the imbalances with thyroid can be joint pains and muscle weakness, right? And so if you find yourself maybe 5 years or 10 years ago, your body cannot perform a lot of the similar activities that you were doing, if you don't have the same amount of energy, if you get depressed easily, right? If there's all of these systems starting to break down, there's one or two particular things in your body that you need to address, so that, because they're trending in the wrong direction, and it's not because of age. It's not because of age, right? It's like most people think, oh, this is happening, it's because of age. This is happening, it's because, but it truly isn't. It's because the body is giving you a sign, symptoms that say, hey, look at us, something's out of balance. Come on, take some time, pay attention and focus on it. And focus on me. And I think that's one of the things that the thyroid tells us best, is that it's going to give you these symptoms here and there and all over the body, trying to raise that flag to tell you something is out of balance. And it's going to tell you sooner than later, because again, it's a tentacle out. It's the tentacle into the world. So it's going to tell you pretty quickly. But again, they miss it in medicine, mostly because it's just not something that's widely recognized. So.
And I have to say, I was recently in a place, I forget where I was exactly, but I remember looking around me, and there was not one person who was not what I would consider overweight, including myself. So what is that saying, about what is going on and what's working and what's not working? In an earlier conversation, you had said that the what's considered normal now for glucose has been elevated, right? Because so many people would be considered diabetic.
So they are. So the number for, and that's what I was explaining, like the reference ranges, because reference ranges include all the sick and the healthy. But optimal ranges include just the healthy, right? And so the example was when the diabetic craze went, right? Because there's a whole lot of, sugar consuming, a whole lot more now than ever, because they pulled fat out of our diet, right? They pulled fat out. So they told us, no, eat fat. Now what are we going to eat? So we ended up eating sugar and junk food and all those kind of stuff to replace it, right? But the range for pre-diabetes to diabetes used to be 110, and now it's 127. And it's only 127 because they had to increase the range because more people had 110, and they couldn't say everybody's got diabetes. So they just increased that range, right? And so that's kind of what happens, which is why we have to use optimal ranges and our functional ranges to understand, because they focus on health, not disease, right? We're here to find healthy. We're here to get you healthy, not have the absence of disease, simply the absence of disease.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've been teaching also is that if you are having a particular problem, you need to find the person who's an expert at that problem.
That's right.
So don't go to an orthopedist for a thyroid problem. Or a gynecologist. You need to go, if you suspect that this is a problem, then you need to go to an expert in thyroid, much like yourself. And that's why I'm really glad to have you here, so that people know that there are people who are experts in thyroid and detecting your, not only, treating your symptoms of thyroid, but addressing the cause that caused the thyroid to get out of whack to begin with. Because again, you have a shelf life on how long you can avoid
any disease.
long-term damage till you're beyond the point of control.
That's right.
And conventionally, if you're just doing supplementation or medication, there is going to, you're still doing damage.
And one of the interesting things about that is so the hormones, like the endocrine system, like most people think, oh, well, I'm going to an expert because I went to an endocrinologist. Right. But the endocrinologist is probably an expert at one little section, one little part, because endocrinology is the study of hormones. And there's a hormone to affect every organ, or that controls every organ in the body. The hormones circulate through the blood and go to the target organ or target system to have a particular effect. And there's a hormone for every system. So if you just go to an endocrinologist, the endocrinologist isn't going to be an expert in every hormone. They're probably
They can't be.
a particular one or two. And so what
Right.
we learn in holistic and what I've been taught as the study of really a hormone balance expert is to understand the relationship between those hormones and why one may be out of balance and one may push another out of balance. So it's really more of a hormone balance expert issue, because if you're perimenopausal or premenopausal, that elevated estrogen is going to shove your thyroid out of balance, right? If you're having all these issues in one place, it's going to push issues in another system out of balance. And so it's imperative that we look at everything as connected as opposed to looking at everything separately and individually, because we'll never get to true health if we do that. Yeah,
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up, because again, people think, oh, I'm in menopause, so I'm gaining weight.
Yes.
Well, maybe that, again, maybe the fluctuations in, like you said, the hormones related to menopause messed up your thyroid, and now your thyroid's messed up. And then, other things. So again, thank you for bringing not only the thyroid to attention, but really, how to address, what's going on in somebody's body, because we don't have, we don't have like a roadmap. And actually, I think you're going to be sharing a roadmap with the viewers. In the description box below, you'll have how to contact Dr. Lisa Lewis at her website. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So what I realized, and just to give you one more tidbit of my journey, I went through some health challenges, most of them related to stress. But when I went through menopause, I gained 50 pounds. I had been skinny all my life. I mean, considered to be, you can eat anything and never gain weight. Kind of skinny, right? That kind of skinny, right? The one that gets the juice, right? Right. And then all of a sudden, I woke up one day and couldn't fit anything in my closet. And I was like, what? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just takes everything that you believe. And I'm like, and I'm a naturopathic doctor, and this happened to me. Right.
Yep.
And so that really delved deeper and helped me understand more. And I'd already been on the hormone balance expert journey, right? And learning and understand. And so every place along the hormone balance, pathway that I went from, menopause, premenopause, and all the challenges too. So I studied and understood what was happening from a bigger, much more expansive picture. And every time I go through another part of the hormone reproductive journey, I learn even more. So what I did was I created a mind map, what's called a natural hormone balance mind map, to support people in understanding the different things that they need to do to bring their hormones back into balance. And they can just choose one or two things to start to work on, as opposed to trying to do everything. And, and they're about treating the causes, not necessarily just treating the symptoms. So I wanted to make sure that everyone had that, because
Thank you. I'm looking forward to taking a look at that myself for sure. Because I have a saying, the more options that you have, the greater your odds of success and recovery. So understanding what's available. Most people, it's not that they don't want to get better. They don't know how, and they don't know who, and they don't know the questions to ask and everything else. So they could go to who they thought was an expert, right? And then that person said, yeah, there's nothing we can do. And that's not really necessarily the case. So again, I thank you so much for bringing this all up.
Every day, dear. I get that call every day.
Exactly.
Patients who the system has given up on them.
Yeah.
Right. The system has given up on them. But they, thank God, haven't given up on themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't give up. Your answer is out there.
That's it.
It's up to you to find it. And, that's sometimes how I support people too, is I know the people who can help you. So anyway, thank you. I know you have another appointment. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to your gifts and researching your website.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you
again.
so much. I appreciate you.
All right. Bye now.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Step Up with DL Walker. For any information about our guest, it'll be found in the comments box below this video. For more information on how you can recover from injury, restore vitality, and gain resilience from disease and trauma, all in the comfort of your home, click the link on the screen. Until next time, take good care of your body, mind, and spirit. It's the only true home that you really have.